Babylon the Great. What is it? Well, it's the world empire of false religion, embracing all religions whose teachings and practices do not conform to the true worship of Jehovah, the only true God. Following the flood of Noah's day, false religion had its beginning at Babel, later known as Babylon. In time, Babylonish religious beliefs and practices spread to many lands, so Babylon the Great became a fitting name for false religion as a whole. What evidence points to the identity of Babylon the Great, referred to in Revelation? Well, it could not be the ancient city of Babylon. Revelation was written at the end of the 1st century CE and describes events that would reach down to our day. The Encyclopedia Americana says, "The city Babylon was taken by the Persians under Cyrus the Great in 539 BC. Later, Alexander the Great planned to make Babylon the capital of his Eastern Empire, but after his death Babylon gradually lost importance. Today, the city is an uninhabited ruin." In the symbolism of Revelation, Babylon the Great is referred to as a great city, a kingdom that rules other kings. Revelation chapter 17 verse 18 reads, "And the woman whom you saw means the great city that has a kingdom over the kings of the earth." Like a city, it would have many organisations within it. And like a kingdom that includes other kings in its domain, it would be international in scope. It is described as having relations with political rulers and contributing much to the wealth of men in commerce, while itself being a third element that has become a dwelling place of demons and a persecutor of prophets and of holy ones. Revelation chapter 18 verses 2 and 9 to 17 and 24 reads, "And he cried out with a strong voice, saying, She has fallen, Babylon the Great has fallen, and she has become a dwelling place of demons, and a lurking place of every unclean exhalation, and a lurking place of every unclean and hated bird." 9 to 17 reads, "And the kings of the earth who committed fornication with her, and lived in shameless luxury, will weep and beat themselves in grief over her, when they look at the smoke from the burning of her, while they stand at a distance because of their fear of her torment, and say, too bad, you great city, Babylon, you strong city, because in 1 hour your judgment has arrived." Also the travelling merchants of the earth are weeping and mourning over her, because there is no one to buy their full stock any more, a full stock of gold and silver, and of precious stone and pearls, and fine linen, and purple and silk and scarlet, and everything in scented wood, and every sort of ivory object, and every sort of object out of most precious wood, and of copper, and of iron, and of marble, also cinnamon and Indian spice, and incense and perfumed oil, and frankincense, and wine and olive oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and cattle and sheep, and horses and coaches and slaves, and human souls. Yes, the fine fruit that your soul desired has departed from you, and all the dainty things that the gorgeous things have perished from you, and never again will people find them. The travelling merchants of these things, who became rich from her, will stand at a distance because of their fear of her torment, and will weep and mourn, saying, too bad, the great city, clothed with fine linen and purple and scarlet, and richly adorned with gold ornament, and precious stone and pearl, because in 1 hour such great riches have been devastated. And every ship captain and every man that voyages anywhere, and sailors of all those who make a living by the sea, stood at a distance." And verse 24 reads, "Yes, in her was found the blood of prophets and of holy ones, and all of those who have been slaughtered on the earth." Ancient Babylon was outstandingly noted for its religion and its defiance of Jehovah. In Genesis 10:8-10 we read that Nimrod displayed himself a mighty hunter in opposition to Jehovah, and the beginning of his kingdom came to be Babel, later known as Babylon. In Daniel chapter 5 verses 22 and 23 we read, "As for you, Belshazzar, king of Babylon, against the Lord of the heavens you exalted yourself, and you have praised mere gods of silver and of gold, copper, iron, wood and stone, that are beholding nothing, or hearing nothing, or knowing nothing, but the God in whose hand your breath is, and to whom all your ways belong, you have not glorified. An ancient cuneiform inscription reads, altogether there are in Babylon 53 temples of the chief gods, 55 chapels of Marduk, 300 chapels for the earthly deities, 600 for the heavenly deities, 180 altars for the goddess Ishtar, 180 for the gods Nergal and Adad, and 12 other altars for different gods. Quoted in the Bible's History, New York, 1964. The Encyclopedia Americana comments that Sumerian civilization, which was part of Babylonia, was dominated by priests at the head of the state, was the legal, or literally great man, the representative of the gods. Reasonably, therefore, Babylon the Great, as referred to in Revelation, is religious. Being like a city and an empire, it is not limited to one religious group, but includes all religions that are in opposition to Jehovah, the true God. Ancient Babylonian religions, concepts and practices are found in religions worldwide. Egypt, Persia and Greece felt the influence of Babylonian religion. The strong admixture of Semitic elements both in early Greek mythology and in Grecian cults is now so generally admitted by scholars as to require no further comment. These Semitic elements are to a large extent more specifically Babylonian. Their gods. There were triads of gods, and among their divinities were those representing various forces of nature and ones that exercised special influence in certain activities of mankind. The Platonic Trinity itself, merely a rearrangement of older trinities dating back to earlier peoples, appears to be the rational philosophic trinity of attributes that gave birth to the three hypostases or divine persons taught by the Christian churches. This Greek philosopher's, Plato's, conception of the divine trinity can be found in all of the ancient pagan religions. The use of images. The role of the image was central in the cult as well as in private worship, as the wide distribution of cheap replicas of such images shows. Fundamentally, the deity was considered present in its image if it showed certain specific features and paraphernalia that was cared for in the appropriate manner. Belief regarding the death. Neither the people nor the leaders of religious thought in Babylon ever faced the possibility of the total annihilation of what was once called into existence. Death was a passage to another kind of life. The Religion of Babylonia and Assyria, page 556. Position of the priesthood. The distinction between priest and layman is characteristic of this Babylonian religion. Encyclopaedia Britannica, 1948. Practice of astrology, divination, magic and sorcery. Historian A.H. Sayers writes, in the religion of ancient Babylonia, every object and force of nature was supposed to have its Zai or spirit, who could be controlled by the magical exorcisms of the shaman or sorcerer priest. The History of Nations, New York, 1928. The Chaldeans, Babylonians, made great progress in the study of astronomy through an effort to discover the future in the stars. Now this art we call astrology. The Dawn of Civilization and Life in the Ancient East, 1938. Babylon the Great is like an immoral harlot, one living in shameless luxury. As we read in 17:1-5, come, I will show you the judgment upon the great harlot who sits on many waters, with whom the kings, political rulers of the earth, committed fornication, whereas those who inhabit the earth were made drunk with the wine of their fornication. And upon her forehead was written a name, a mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of the harlots and of the disgusting things of the earth. And Revelation 18:7 adds that she glorified herself and lived in shameless luxury. Is it not true that the dominant religious organisations have made it a practice to consort with political rulers for power and material gain, though this was resulted in suffering for the common people? Is it not also true that their higher clergy live in luxury, even though many of the people to whom they should minister may be impoverished? Or why can religions that profess to be Christian properly be viewed as part of Babylon the Great, along with those who know nothing of the God of the Bible? Well, in James 4:4, adulterers says, "Do you not know that the friendship with the world is enmity with God? Whoever therefore wants to be a friend of the world is constituting himself an enemy of God." So although they know what the Bible says about God, they make themselves his enemies if they choose friendship with the world by imitating its ways. And in 2 Corinthians 4:4 and in chapter 11, 14 and 15, the God of this system of things has blinded the minds of the unbelievers, that the illumination of the glorious good news about the Christ, who is the image of God, might not shine through. So Satan himself keeps transforming himself into an angel of light. It is therefore nothing great if his ministers also keep transforming themselves into ministers of righteousness. But their end shall be according to their works. Thus Jehovah's chief adversary, Satan the devil himself, is really being honoured by all who do not worship the true God in the manner that he is appointed, even though they may claim to be Christians. In Matthew 7:21-23 we read, "Not everyone saying to me, Lord, Lord, will enter into the kingdom of heavens, but the one doing the will of my Father who is in the heavens will. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and expel demons in your name, and perform many powerful works in your name? And yet then I will confess to them, I never knew you. Get away from me, you workers of lawlessness." So why is it urgent to get out of Babylon the Great without delay? Well, in Revelation 18:4 we read, "Get out of her, my people, if you do not want to share with her in her sins, and if you do not want to receive part of her plagues." And again in Revelation 18:21 we read, "A strong angel lifted up a stone like a great millstone and hurled it into the sea, saying, Thus with a great swift pitch will Babylon the great city be hurled down, and she will never be found again." And in Luke 21:36 we read, "Keep awake then, all the time making supplication that you may succeed in escaping all these things that are destined to occur, and in standing before the Son of Man." So what will happen to people who did not know Bible truth, but lived and died in the part of Babylon the Great? Well, in Acts 17:30 we read, "God has overlooked the times of such ignorance, yet now he is telling mankind that they should all everywhere repent." And in Acts 24:15 we read, "There is going to be a resurrection of both the righteous and the unrighteous. As to which ones of the unrighteous will be raised, God will decide." So in Job 34:12 we read, "For a fact, God himself does not act wickedly, and the Almighty himself does not pervert judgment." If you would like a free home Bible study at a time and place to suit you, please navigate your browser to jw.org and follow the links online. Thank you for listening.